The premises of the Radio Lagos Ikeja was thrown into pandemonium during the election of the Lagos State chapter of the Nigerian women journalists Nawoj on Thursday. The confusion followed a court injunction by the immediate past chairman Ekine Nawoj in a bid to stop the exercise. The injunction, which was not served on the electoral committee due to the pandemonium and the insistence of some delegates to ensure the election process continues, came about an hour into the voting exercise and after the executive had been dissolved. The immediate past chairman Ekine Nawoj, who is also seeking re-election, was accused of trying to stop the election process with the injunction because she felt threatened by the overwhelming support for her opponent, Mrs. Adeola Ekine, from the Lagos State Ministry of Information's chapter. Nawoj claimed there was no level playing ground for members to participate in the election. The national leadership of Nawoj has set aside the Nigerian Union of Journalists Constitution on attendance and yet asked members to pay dues. She felt all women journalists in Lagos should be allowed to exercise their voting rights since the constitution has been set aside.
Yes, we've been able to get court injunction to stop that unconstitutional.
The people protesting right here, who are they?
They are people from Ministry of Information.
Are they not qualified to take part in this election?
That is part of what we advise the committee. We have in all the core media houses in Lagos, the total number of women from all the core media houses.
An aggrieved female journalist, Precious Onwenwego, from the Nation's newspaper in an interview with Flip TV, said the whole exercise had been compromised with several provisions for the election set aside for some elective posts and chapels, all in violation of the constitution of the Nigerian Union Journalists.
It's so unfortunate that even as journalists that we are supposed to be very above board, we are exhibiting class lawlessness. I just walked out of the hall because I have lost absolute confidence and trust in the electoral committee and the electoral process. Number one, this committee that was set up by Ifeanyiwa Omowole, that is even enmeshed in fraud because she's in court, insisted that they are setting aside constitutional provisions. They set aside provisions for people who are not even qualified to be journalists.
Who are these people exactly?
I don't know. They know. They set aside provisions that will benefit. They set aside provisions that were against the PROs and the information officers. They set aside the constitutional requirement that stipulates that there must be mandatory 50% of attendance before any candidate can vie for position. They set aside provisions that talked about chapels. But when it now comes to the issue of finance, you refuse to set aside the provisions that has to do with finance because as a chapel, you know that from wherever you have gotten the money to pay in bulk for your members. Then journalists who are on the street, independent journalists, journalists who are online, journalists who may not even have the money, journalists who are civil servants who have not collected salaries. You are now telling them that if they don't pay the 3,000 naira dues, that they won't vote. You are also telling them that even the check-off dues that they have been paying from source in their offices do not count. That is not a fair play in a democracy.
On her part, Adeola Ekine said the delegates present at the polling center were members of the National Association of Women Journalists of the Ministry of Information with records that they paid their dues promptly. She said the overwhelming presence of her supporters should not intimidate anyone. She disclosed that her supporters are qualified to vote and can't be disenfranchised.
My chapel members are here to vote en masse. We are not aware of any discrepancy going on. We are just here to vote as a bona fide member of Nawoj and NUJ Lagos.
Okay, now why is this effort to prevent your members from voting?
Actually, our members are more in Lagos Information. We are more. I think that is very intimidating, but of course, we are one big family. When somebody comes out from the ministry, everybody supports. That's why you can see us here. All our directors are here to support.
Are they qualified to participate in this election?
They are qualified to participate. They are all bona fide members of NUJ and Nawoj. They are card-carrying members. There are no sweepers or cleaners here. The people here are public affairs officers, information officers of Lagos State Ministry of Information and Strategy.
But why did it take this long to resolve all this process towards the election? Why did it take this long?
We started this morning. We were supposed to start around 8, but the incumbent did not come on time. But they started and then they called for manifestos. We both gave our manifestos. We both seek for the support of our members. After the manifesto, we are asked to go out and election proper has started.
Well, the incumbent president said there is no equity in this exercise, considering the fact that each chapel is supposed to come with at least 50 members.
Thank you.
But from the information ministry, there are more members that overwhelm others.
Thank you very much.
Is there equity in this?
Thank you very much. In the history of NUJ, if it is only delegate congresses that they have numbered members. NUJ elections, Nawoj elections, they all go out in mass. As long as you are a member, you are allowed to vote. It has never happened in the history of NUJ. It has never happened in the history of Nawoj.
Yeah. Are you concerned about the fact that this election, if at all it's held, will be nullified since she gotten a court injunction?
I don't know about any court injunction. I told you earlier that we are here to vote en masse. As a former vice chairman of my chapel and the sitting secretary before this process, we are here to vote, and vote we shall.
In the midst of the confusion, the women who turned up en masse expressed their disappointment by chanting protest songs and forcing their ways into the entrance of the hall to vote. When calm returned, delegates were cleared and allowed to access the hall under police security to cast their votes, while Sekinat Lawal and her supporters looked. At the end of the voting exercise, Adeola Ekine emerged the winner of the chairperson election with 296 votes, while her opponent Sekinat Lawal scored 16 votes. The vice chairperson seat was won by Bumi Ekine with 299 votes against Tessie Ihomo, who had 11 votes. Adeola Ekine, having emerged the newly elected chairperson, was sworn in alongside other officials before she delivered her acceptance speech. Ekine promised to lead a united, selfless, purposeful and committed Nigerian Association of Women Journalists in Lagos.